It's time for MacBreak Weekly, episode 181 with Merlin, Mann, Ihnatko, Alex, Lindsay. Coming up, MacWorld Expo lives. Adobe says it's not killing HTML5, and Apple sells more Macs in January than ever before. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 181 for February 16th, 2010. Dread Pirate Robert. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by GoToMeeting, the affordable way to meet with clients and colleagues. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers all things Apple, including the Macintosh and the iPod and the iPhone and the Pad I and all of that stuff.
So many options.
So many options now, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Alex Lindsay from the Pixel Core in studio today. Nice to have you here, Alex.
So good to be here.
Yes. So good to have you here. Also in the Bay Area, but not in studio.
Yes, just out of spite, I decided to come within about 50 miles of your studio, but stop right about here. And I could have gone all the way and been in studio, but I thought that it'd make more of a statement to simply say I'm willing to move 2,941 miles, but not the requisite 60. It's just the kind of guy I am.
And Ihnatko from the Chicago Sun-Times and the celestial waste of bandwidth. In honor of President's Day, his mutton chops are trimmed to be an exact duplicate of Martin Van Buren's. Very nicely done. Very nicely done.
The great emancipator. Got us out of World War III.
He did. And now that laughter could be none other than the great Merlin Mann of 43folders.com. Back with us once again. Merlin, you're making it a streak here.
I got nowhere to be, Leo. I discovered I don't have anywhere to be. I'm going to be here anyway. I'm going to just be typing on the internet, so I might as well have a camera on.
Might as well. Why not?
I just discovered also I can do these dramatic zooms, so I may be doing this sometimes when I really want to.
Oh, jeez. His nose. The nose. Is that program that you were...
Oh, wait. Hang on. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see.
Dramatic zooms.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you trying to do dramatic chipmunk?
Yeah, trying to do that.
Merle, get back to me. We can do a zoom in, dolly out move. Then I'll be impressed.
Yeah.
Make every conference like
okay. Now,
like
if I could have 10 minutes, I'm gonna do the beginning of do that scene in Goodfellas where they go through the restaurant.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, you need the steady cam.
Hi, Leo. It's nice to be back. It's I'm sorry to get to hang out with you at the MacWorld. I always
you were
at
the Omni Group booth most of the time, yes?
Yeah, and I did some MacBreak stuff. I did how many did I do, Alex? I did like 60 MacBreak segments.
You were prolific. We did a total of 38 from the floor.
I'm surprised you found that many to do, because I have to admit, I went to the show. I went to the floor. I walked around the floor. I looked at everything, and I was out in 30 minutes.
What really turned out well was that we had so many different people between Merlin and Justine and Andy and Kenji and Kiki and myself. So everybody had their own interests, and so it's much better than just having a handful of people. We had a whole bunch of people, finding the things that they were specifically interested in, and so I think that it turned out well. We shot 38 episodes from the floor. They're coming out over the next
so you go to
week or two.
Pixelcore.tv to see those.
Pixelcore.tv. You can just subscribe to MacBreak Video
in iTunes.
In iTunes, but go to pixelcore.tv. Go to pixelcore.tv to find MacBreak Video in iTunes.
That's probably the best way to do it, because you'll find us MacBreak. We're the audio
version
affiliate of it.
Exactly.
Can I pay you? Well, not I guess sort of you by extension, but to your folks. I just they were fantastic.
Great team. Doesn't he have great people working for him?
I don't know. Every time they do anything with them, I don't know why they treat me like this. Maybe you demand that they do, but they're always really nice to me. They're super professional, and they just swarm in like these 5 people. John and his guys were just fantastic. And I just want to say that in front of everybody that if I hopefully I suck less at this every year, hopefully. But if it's good at all, it's just because those guys were amazing. You should be really proud of them, Alex.
I am so proud of my crew. So that it gets better every year. And John Riley, who is managing the crew now, is just, man, he's a taskmaster. He keeps everybody, on target, and we just have as I said, it's been getting better every year. Yeah,
you can tell he's a bouncer too, because he'll just walk up to somebody I want to talk to at a booth, and he's like, if you got a really pretty daughter, it'd be a shame if you didn't want to talk about your products.
So, what was your favorite product, Merlin, that you saw at the MacWorld Expo? I almost called it MacBreak Expo.
That's next year.
That's next year.
Paul. Yeah.
Patient,
I got to be honest with you. I have to disagree, Leo. Tiny Town was tinier than ever, and in the most awesome way. Two of the
Tiny Town, I should explain for those who haven't listened to this show religiously every week, is the little booths, the tiny booths.
Well, there was, and this year there was Tiny Town, and there was
tiny booths.
There was Microtown
because they had iPhone apps, right?
No, wait, do you hear? There's two kinds of tiny. So when we say Tiny Town, usually, what do you mean when we say that? We're talking about those areas that are not like the frickin' FileMaker Pro booth, which I don't understand at all. But that's just my deal. It's usually a booth that's like if you've won a design award or if you've won any kind of an Apple award, I think is how it works. You get like this little booth. It's like, you kind of share it with other people. Then this year, they had these ones in this little, I think it's mostly iPhone developers, this little pavilion of 4 people per tiny little table. And I did interviews with people there. But then, I guess like literally the day before Macworld, they offered people. Can I say how much this was? Because I know how much it is, and it's unbelievable.
Please.
You get a booth at Macworld for $1,200.
Really? Like how big a booth? A tiny booth?
It's in the very far corner by where the pipe and drape starts. You're by the bathroom, and if you watch the MacBreak, you'll see we're in the absolute corner of where Macworld was. And 2 of my favorite things I saw were at the very end. So, I mean, it wasn't something to put your iPod in that smelled like strawberries or something. It was like genuinely cool, independent applications that do like a single thing extremely well. And those are the ones that the interview that's up right now, the one with the Appsaurus guy, I was like, if they filled this entire conference area with apps this size, I would be the happiest guy in the world. Well,
but there's no money in being in it. Well, I guess there's some money, but it must be tough for an apps publisher to pay for a booth. I mean, how much money do you make in an app, right?
Well, it depends. I mean, increasingly, because of the race to the bottom, as everybody calls it, as I understand it from my friends and associates who've tried to do this, you make the most dough when it's tied to another offering. So if you've got an application that extends the desktop functionality of something, you're more likely to do well than if you're,
right.
A B- Wikipedia
if you're a
app.
flashlight, right? So, yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, that's always true that the apps that are most functional and useful are the ones that show up with booths.
The one that's up now, I talk on this Appsaurus. Appsaurus is actually pretty bad. I think later, I hope we'll talk about the carriers that want to start an application store. The Appsaurus guys, it's a team of, I think he said 3 people who've come up with this algorithm. And Appsaurus, which is a combination of application and thesaurus, you go in, you tell it what apps you like, and it uses a collaborative filtering technology to go out and like find other apps you're likely to like. It's very polished. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, first of all, it's a really cool app. But second, I think it's not about selling apps. I think that's about getting a lot of exposure to a piece of technology they spent 3 years building. So when we look at what it costs to be at Macworld, it's not simply a matter of how many 99-cent apps that I sell.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think a lot of developers as well, it's getting in front of press because people like us are wandering around the floor with cameras, and so I mean that kind of exposure is difficult for a small developer to.
It's really worth it. And Paul Kent, I'm sure the guy who organizes all of this, IDG, is very great. He was certainly grateful to us for being there, and I'm sure he was extraordinarily grateful to you because those cameras make a huge difference, I'm sure, for the people who buy a booth at MacWorld Expo. Now, the attendance seemed okay, right? I mean, there were a lot of people there. The attendance last year was 30,000.
And they said the reports are that the attendance was actually pretty close this year to the same.
Paul said the first day. He didn't. I only talked to him about day 1, which was Thursday.
Day 2 was
he
still
said
pretty
day
busy.
1 was just a few hundred below that last year, but I can't imagine they got the 30,000.
Well, what was Saturday like? I wasn't there on Saturday.
Saturday was thinner.
Oh, it was okay.
Well, not terribly thinner. It would be about as bad as about the same crowd that was there, let's say, later in the afternoon on the first day.
Okay.
So still, you could make your way around the show floor, but you weren't walking around thinking, "My God, this place is thin and dead." I do have to say though that I was very, very pleased when the very first thing I heard on Thursday when I passed through the lobby before I'd hit the show floor on day one, were two people complaining that, oh, it's too damn crowded down there. I can't even move around.
That's good.
And I'm like, are there two shows, or is this really good news for Paul?
Well, it was interesting because Friday, I was there all day Friday. We did our MacWorld Live at 2 p.m. Friday morning, it was a little sparse, but by noon, it was jammed. People got off work and they came in.
What I was surprised is that it was just, I think there was a lot of, even I was just not sure what to expect when we, when we got there. And I thought, well, this might be the last MacWorld. And I have to admit that I wasn't left that way when I was there. When I went to the
it seemed pretty vital, but
different
let's face it,
speakers
though.
and the convention. Well, it was a lot smaller.
Let's face it, it's a lot smaller. I mean, they normally would have a North Hall and a South Hall. The South Hall is where Apple was.
Yeah,
the South Hall was closed.
That's one of two canards, though, Leo. Canard number one is, and I'm not saying.
When you say canard, do you mean duck?
I do.
Okay.
And if it looks like a canard, no. I think
fallacy would be the.
I think those are data
Fallacy.
points. I think those are data points that may be true but not telling. Data point number one is that I've heard two half numbers that I want to learn more about. Half number one was like there was half the number of whatever space, like half the hall, right? And the other one is that there was half as many, I guess half as many exhibitors. Well, first of all, if 30% of the half that wasn't there was crap to put your iPod in, that's okay with me. My concern is people buying smaller booths who are like serious like movers in the industry that attract other people. And then as far as the number of exhibitors, I guess I'd want to know what is the net loss of income rather than the net loss of exhibitors, because that's I think going to be the more telling number.
It has to be profitable.
Do you know what I'm saying, though, Leo? Like when people go, "Oh, it's half as many exhibitors." Well, if in net number of booths, or in if you lose 15 of those giant ass booths, that's going to hurt. Do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a number that's a little deceiving, but
we don't know.
I wish they go to West. They should go to West. Move it to West. Put it all in one place, and let's just go party.
I really wish.
We don't know what the break-even point is either for it, right? I mean, we don't know what IDG needs to make it worthwhile. We just don't know.
And I really would prefer to have it all in the West Hall, because the West Hall is so much nicer than the North and South. The North and South halls are kind of they're in the basement, literally. And the West Hall.
Can you set up a West is above?
West has got
upstairs. There's an exhibit.
Well, that's where all the other talks were in the West Hall. Like when you do WWDC, it's all in the West Hall. And you have the expo is all down in the West Hall, and it's small enough now. It could have. I'm sure that there was some kind of scheduling issue, which is why they weren't using it. But or maybe they thought it was going to be bigger than it was. The North Hall would give them a little more headroom than the West Hall, because the West Hall I think is a little bit smaller than the North Hall, and much smaller than the South Hall.
It's cozy though. It's cozy. It's big enough to do stuff. Sorry.
All I can say is that it felt like a MacWorld Expo. I think we've all been at the last Gasp New York MacWorld shows and the last Gasp Boston shows, and those are the ones where you're humming Anna Tefka as you're strolling through these streets, because you know that soon I'll be a stranger in a strange new place, searching for an old familiar place from MacWorld Expo. But that wasn't the vibe I got this week at MacWorld. It just felt like another regular show, and they were able to do a lot of things that they were not able to do in previous years. Do you think that Apple would have let them get away with an entire hugely packed session on a product that they have not actually released yet? I think that's one of the big failures. I'm serious.
No, that was the problem. Is that there was nothing to say.
Well, no. I'm saying, getting back to the point, we did a huge packed session on the iPad, and it was a topic that people were really interested in. It went over really, really well.
But you had a styrofoam model of the iPad.
But the big deal, he said, finishing his sentence, is that Apple had no control over the message, no control over the content. If we were going to spend 90 minutes slagging this thing off and come out with all kinds of half-truths that just weren't true, Apple was not there to counter it. Apple was not there to shape anything. More than anything else, they have thrown away the big stick they once had to say, you can have this on the floor, you can't have this on the floor. You can have a pavilion for this for developers, you can have a pavilion for iPhone users.
They still have a stick, Andy. We tried to get John Hodgman, for instance, and he said, well, I don't think Apple would like that. I mean, they have a stick. Believe me, if you're an Apple ISV, if you're a developer, if you have any relationship with Apple, you're not going to piss off Apple whether they're at the place or not. Even MacWorld Magazine's probably going to be a little hesitant, right?
Well, I don't think so. Remember, that panel was headed by Jason Snell.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Dan Warren was everywhere too. Yeah.
Well, and I think that what I liked about it was that it wasn't dominated by these big booths. As someone who when we're covering stuff, what we're generally looking for is not the big companies. We're looking for the more independent developers, the guys with the smaller booths. That's what we want to pick out, because everyone can hear about the other stuff. They have a marketing they have marketing budget dollars. They have all these other things. We're looking for the smaller guys. to cover, and it was a lot easier for us to do that. In this event, it was a lot easier for us to move around. I mean, so I actually enjoyed it, a lot more at the size that it was at. I think it could grow up a little bit.
But it's a little bit like rationalization.
No, I don't. No. Ugh. I hated walking around both things before.
I really feel as though Leo and I had totally different experiences, because I thought it was a great show. It was a smaller show. It was definitely a reinvention show, but it seemed more like a transition towards a much bigger and much more successful show in 2011, rather than the downslope of the curve. I will admit absolutely full on that the reason why I made it to MacWorld Expo was, number one, inertia. It's hard for me to consider even not going to MacWorld Expo. Mm-hmm. Number two, the fear that this would be the last show, and then I would really have nothing else to do, and I would have missed it. And number three, and this is the deal breaker that I managed to luckily line up a speaking gig that said, okay, well, you'll get paid to speak at this place, and they'll offset some of the expenses. Okay, fine, that's the deal breaker. We'll absolutely go. And so that was turned around completely on this show. Next, I've already got my money budgeted for the travel for next year's show, unless some meteor smashes into something that I'm fond of, and it's impossible to rebuild it in time. I will definitely be here next year.
I want to make one other quick observation, something that did not occur to me any year until this year. You see people walking around, and let's be honest, like, there's got to be not a vast majority. Would you guys agree that a majority of the people on the show floor are probably exhibits only?
I thought the majority of people were hot chicks. I'm sorry, I must have been looking at a different show.
Well, again,
you did have a different Mac.
No one. You were in the wrong show.
Are you sure you went to the right place? You sure you didn't go to
There's a lot of neon, a lot of love in an elevator playing over the speakers, because that could have been a totally different show floor.
There seemed to be a lot of booths with hot curler irons, shampoos. Maybe I was at the wrong show. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's funny, you walk around though, and you can tell the exhibits only folks, because they will take everything. It's like the free sample people at Safeway that block the aisles. Like, they're going to take everything they can get, and you see people walking around with a bag full of stuff. People who do buy stuff at MacWorld, in my experience, seeing other people, you'll occasionally buy something that's going to be delivered, but what do you buy? You buy a new media device, right? Excuse me. In terms of on the show floor, you buy like a cool hard drive that'll be hard to get where you live. You get little stuff that you can fit in a suitcase. Something that didn't occur to me until this time, the biggest thing I've ever bought was probably like a bag. But think about how many people bought iPhone applications on the floor that day. During our interviews, Alex, I bought 2.
What?
And it took me about 10 seconds.
Really?
I never thought about that before. And you think about how disruptive now with the iTunes store, it's not like people are going to run around, buying music at a music fair. It's interesting. I think one interesting piece of growth is bringing people in, because if you do get this in front of a lot of influential people, and by influential, I just mean they're going to spread the word for you, and people who are really genuinely interested in just buying. I mean, I spend so much on applications, it's mind-blowing. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are like that.
Can I ask a question? A stupid question. Yes. How do you buy applications on the show floor? I mean,
on your iPhone.
There was some model.
Just on your iPhone.
Oh, you just see something and you say, I've got to buy that.
Isn't that, it's a crazy thing with that market, and I think that's going to be, you're going to see that with the iPad as well, where you immediately see something that's interesting. I do that all the time. I see something on whatever, and I just go to my iPhone and I start downloading it. Yeah.
And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for Adobe Photoshop CS4 Enterprise Development CS or whatever, because I don't want a giant box of whatever. It's one way to. I guess what I'm getting at is a couple things. If you do want to attract people to get in front of these people, and they've got a little bit of dough for whatever reason, man, make a pavilion where people can come in and just demo their stuff. I talked to the guy. What's his name? It's not Alex, but the guy who does the postage app. A great just a little cheap, like $4 app. I gobbled up a bunch of stuff like that.
So your favorite thing about MacWorld, Merlin, was Tiny Town, and teensy Tiny Town.
My favorite part about MacWorld is of what I can say I like about MacWorld. I like hanging out with people, and you know what, I'm going to say that though, because I told Paul Kent this probably 5 times last year. The thing that matters more than anything else in this economy, with it being such a pain to fly, with all of this stuff, people are not going to go there just to see somebody in a polo shirt talk to you about enterprise databases. You want to go because you want to drink with Gruber. You go because you want to see Andy talk.
No, I think
I'll
that's
never forget, Andy, I've told you this story 3 times. I'll never forget the day that I introduced myself to you at MacWorld before you had any clue who I was. And I must have looked like John Wayne Gacy to you. You just had crazy, like, deer in the headlight eyes.
The makeup kind of helped.
I've loved you since MacWeek. I love you since the ladies. But I think bringing those big head characters in, no offense, but anybody who's like perceived as a Mac, somebody who's on that badge you've got, Leo, get those people in there and have them show people how to do stuff and meet with people. I think that, and then, for the people who do have something to sell, give them a platform for that. But my favorite thing, apart from that, I could talk about specific apps, but I really always like going to the people who are there because they're hungry. They're not there because it's what they do to collect a check. No offense. But when you go to the Microsoft booth and you see like 100 people in polo shirts, it's not the same as somebody who spent a bunch of dough to come there and go, like, I care intensely about this app. So I'll always love that,
I will say the worst thing there was the Microsoft Dancing Excel logo.
Oh, God, that was disturbing.
I missed
It was
that.
like Mum and Sean's. It was like corporate Mum and
Mum and
Sean's.
Sean's. Bad Mum and Sean's.
Look at me, I'm Microsoft Word.
I don't know who they were. Is that the business user they were going for there? I don't know exactly what that was.
I like all the all.
What was your favorite part of MacBreak?
Well, my favorite is generally the stuff like the Twit meetup. The
That was awesome.
Well,
and thanks to Myra Joyce for putting that together.
Those are the kind of things, and there was one that I just got the tail end of, which was the podcasting meetup. There's all of those kind of things that everyone's in town, and that's the thing that you can't reproduce with a virtual, conference. You can't reproduce with going online.
Well, that's the problem with conventions, right? Is that you could get the information online.
Right, but you don't. What you miss is that having those get-togethers and seeing people. I also thought I hope they do something with the videos that they shot of. I know they did the MacWorld Live with you, but also like I don't know if they could ever post what Kevin Smith said. Was
it wild?
Oh my gosh, it was really funny. It was very blue. It was very impossible to ever post anywhere, I think. But I'm sure he wouldn't care.
See, I felt guilty about Kiki's latex bodysuit.
Yeah, no.
That was nothing, I guess.
No, there was. Okay. I can't even repeat what Kevin was talking about. But the and then I only got we were shooting, so I only got to stick my head in. But it looked like the video of the 20-year Photoshop with Russell Brown and David Biedney and there was talking about really these are the guys that were there at the beginning of Photoshop, and those are the kind of talks that I think are great.
Don't you have to buy to see some of that stuff? You have to buy the expensive conference pass.
Well,
right?
then they have to figure out what makes sense because some of those, I think some of those were opened and some of them weren't. To
Kevin and my keynotes, David's keynotes were all open to anybody.
And they
who
were
was
full.
exhibit only. Yeah, we were sold out. You couldn't get in towards the end, but.
Right.
I think to see things like that Photoshop 20 years, you'd have to pay for a conference.
I think it might have. I'm hoping that they're going to do something with those videos. I think that there's an opportunity there to stream those as well.
I'd love to see that. Yeah. So your favorite thing was people. I think we're actually all in agreement.
To me, that's for a conference. That is what makes it, in my opinion.
Andy, what do you think?
I have a unique perspective because I'm there working. So my perspective is kind of the flip side of what the exhibitors want to get. I want to get the most bang for my buck. The ability to meet up with, see a lot of people, a lot of things that I had not heard of, either because they've been around for a while, they just haven't been on my radar, I've never seen a live demo or heard someone talking about it, or because it's just so new, or for any of another million different reasons. That's the stuff I want to see. I want to have these opportunities that, I've for a long, long time, it's been on my to-do list to stop looking at digital comics from a user perspective and just start those like really long, intensive, okay, you develop this, tell me what's on your mind, tell me what you're thinking when you're doing this. So I was able to have really nice meetings with iVerse and Panelfly. They were showing me, iVerse particularly was showing me what their iPad app is looking like right now. It was very, very valuable to me. These are the things where I would not, pay $1,000 to fly out for one meeting, but I'd pay $1,000 to have 20, 30, 40 meetings, plus hang out with friends, plus feel as though I'm broadening my experience and my knowledge, and plus feel as though I'm contributing to a much, much larger thing. I really think that the selling point of MacWorld Expo is the idea that you're going to boots on the ground is better than a hand on a mouse any day.
I talked to people from all over the world, people who came from New Jersey even, who were really happy to be there and said this is. We were at Samovar Tea House and having a cup of tea, which was really fun. That's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Upstairs from where the expo center is, and. There was a woman there from Australia, a woman from Boston, and a woman from New Jersey. They said, we've never met before in person, but we are old friends online, and we thought, well, better place to meet than MacWorld. So that they all came, and I said, well, was the trip worth it? And they said, absolutely. I mean, Australia.
Yeah. Well, and I think that continuing to encourage that kind of thing, I think that's one. I mean, I sometimes keep on talking too much about it, but like when I went to TED Africa, what really made it work was these huge hour-and-a-half breaks between every set of talks that people could just sit there and hang out and network. And I think no matter how you do it, finding lots and lots of ways for people to network with each other makes the convention or the conference relevant.
Yeah. But your point right there, and I'm talking on my butt just a little bit, but my understanding of the way that a lot of the serious dough transpires at these things. If you think about where the really serious dough comes from, it's not going to come from a guy with a cool iPhone app who's spending $1,200. It's going to come from, I always, FileMaker Pro is my whipping boy for these things, but it's anybody who gets a giant booth at one of these things. Because what are you going to do? You're going to bring in a lot of people. And, a lot of the people that you're not going to see in the booth in, a polo shirt is the business development people who are there to talk to other business development people. Every conference I've ever been to, now Mac, obviously it's more consumer focused, but every trade show I've ever worked at, it's been all about business relationships. And the reason you go is because everybody's there. Do you know what I mean? So when you say networking, I think that's one way you have to measure the longevity of whatever this is if you're going to try and make a play to bring in a phalanx of guys in Brooks Brothers suits or whatever. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a network effect for that to happen.
Yeah, it really has to, for a show like that to be successful, it has to be like an episode of The Love Boat, where you're going to have multiple intersecting storylines, so to speak. You've got the businessman who's trying to keep the software company afloat. You've got the user who wants to learn something. You got the media person who wants to get interviews in line. If it's just about user training, that's fine, but you can rent a Ramada Inn for a lot less money than it costs to stage a MacWorld Expo. If you want to make it for a media event, well, again, you can rent out a hall and have a big press event for a lot less money than that, on and on and on. It really does have to be 4 or 5 different shows at once. And I really can't think of a single area in which 2010 didn't at least meet the USDA federally mandated minimums on each one of those categories.
One thing that I do think that not just Macworld, but Macworld and CES and NAB need to start looking at is co-opting what we're really seeing with stuff like Showstoppers, which is that they should be doing that. They shouldn't wait for another firm to do that. Which is
what is that? What's Showstoppers?
So Showstoppers has kind of built up for people who don't want to spend money on the booth. What they're doing is they'll rent out a big area, usually a hotel ballroom or whatever. And they will, and all of these guys for $3,000 or $4,000 can get a table, and everyone there is press. So it's you have to be registered press. I mean, and they're actually pretty particular about it. And there's really good food, and it's kind of this whole different little world. I didn't even know about it until CES. But so everyone's got their little booth, and when you see all the stuff from CNN or at CES or different company, they're just walking through Showstoppers because it's a one-stop shop. Some people have booths and also are there, but a lot of people don't get the booths and are there. And I think that's something that it's much easier for press to cover it. And I think that the conference itself should create that rather than have it necessarily done by a third party.
Yeah. Well, what if, IDG says, our business model, our business requires more attendees or more booths or whatever. We're going to, as they did in Boston, we're just going to stop doing MacWorld Expo.
Well, we'll do it.
Well, that's the question. would it be worthworthhile for somebody like you to pick it up? Or?
The only reason we didn't do one this year is because Paul said we're doing one next year. I mean, I would do one. I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't look like.
It'd be more like a Gnome Dex, for instance.
Yeah, it would be. But I would absolutely take it on if IDG stopped. We wouldn't let a year go by.
CES, I thought CES was going to be dying when we went to CES. It was doing very well. So there is some room for trade shows like this. But now CES covers 100 different industries. And, MacWorld Expo, unfortunately, relies on a really narrow niche, which is Apple. Yeah, but without Apple's support,
The niche is getting wider and wider. Next year, you already saw how much impact iPhone had, not just iPhone cases, but iPhone software and iPhone hardware. Now that we're going to add on iPad software, iPad hardware, iPad accessories, I think this is a growing proposition.
Yeah, and actually, I believe that one of the reasons it was a small show and it seemed to me a little less exciting than it had been in the past is that everybody, the iPad, Apple had kind of almost taken the wind out of their sails by announcing the iPad but not having any more information about it.
Sometimes I wonder if that was on purpose.
It wasn't. They don't care that much. That would be, come on, they don't really. I think it's not even on their radar.
Frustrating.
But I think by announcing the iPad and saying it'll be out in 2 months and then that's it, right. a lot of what would have been exciting about that. What?
The next week is a month after
2 months. They said 60 days.
Oh, was it 60 days? I thought it was 30 days. I thought it was 60 days.
My heart just went what? What?
So
No,
it's
no.
not. It was 60
days.
Oh, never mind.
The other part of that though is that I think you guys have all gotten at this, but I'm going to overtly say it. I think it's if I were going to start over tomorrow, I would make it 3 different shows, one of which already exists twice in some ways. The developer highlighting piece of it is kind of already taken care of in some sense by WWDC and C4, which are both doing a fantastic job.
What's
They are
C4?
totally
I don't know C4.
was it Wolf Wrench? Is that his name? The guy who does the it's like the kind of the go-to hip Mac conference.
Oh, okay.
It's up there with WWDC in terms of hard drinking, everybody goes fun. And I think there's 2 other ones. And one of these is one that I am talking to a ton of different people to work on. So there's the development piece. I think there's just an iPhone and mobility and not Mac stuff piece. Calling it MacWorld, it's in some ways, I get the equity at this point, why you call it MacWorld. But at the same point, I just have to guess that in the area that's going to be likely to grow the most, not the area that's staying the same, not the true believers, but the area of growth is going to be with people who don't regard themselves as Apple fans. Sorry. If you're somebody who bought an iPhone this year, there's a really good chance you don't consider yourself to be an Apple person or a Mac person. And then the third one is creative work, and I think that's what I'm super interested in. Is looking at the people, the Scott Bourne type, sessions, learning how to do stuff, how to make things, and making connections with the people who you respect and admire who make those things. So, I mean, I think those could be different conferences. I agree with Andy, though. I mean, the years that you go to these things, you leave with a cold and feeling overwhelmed just because it's just been such a wash of fun stuff from every angle. You see everybody. It's just that it's hard to make a tent that big that's sustainable and scalable.
Yeah. All right. Well, I stand corrected.
You sound no. I'm curious, Leo, because you sound like I want to explore more of how you feel. You feel like you're kind of going, I don't know. You sound like you just weren't that into it.
No.
Yeah.
I think
what got you? What got your goat? What's your beef? What got your goat?
Well, I wandered around for half an hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like seeing the people. Of course, that's great. I'm in a little different position. I talk to you guys and I see you guys all the time, so I don't,
No novelty there.
No novelty there. God knows. It just it wasn't compelling to me, and I felt like if somebody came all the way from Australia to see this and saw it all in half an hour, that it might be a little bit of a disappointment for them. I mean, I guess it wasn't. I asked a lot.
If it was only for Expo, but I think if you're coming from you're going to pay to come from all the way from Australia, I think most of those people had conference passes. Yeah. I don't know if I'd come all the way from Australia to do the Expo.
I did not go to I went for one day. I didn't go to the conferences. So I probably missed what all the fun was all about. And I know the conferences are great.
What do you think the growth is, though, Leo? I mean, I'm getting so interested. Brent Simmons from Net Newswire from Newsgator, he had a wonderful post the other day about why. Did you guys see this? Why he thinks developers it was basically he wrote an email to a friend of his who's a developer that he redacted, but he was saying like why I think we should all go totally snow leopard, and he had this list of really interesting reasons. A lot having to do with support costs and ability to innovate. But he said the most interesting thing that's so obvious but so smart. He's like, never develop for an OS that's shrinking rather than growing.
Right.
Because the more cycles that you burn on something that you haven't realized yet is dead. Anyway, see where I'm going with this. So, Leo, I'm curious. If Paul Kent came to you and took you out to Tom Colicchio's little sandwich restaurant around the corner and said, hey, what do I do? Where is the growth? And how do I leverage that? What would you say?
Well, he essentially asked us all that last year, and and we said community.
That's what I said.
I think we were very clear. Community.
I said, yeah, exactly.
I put a vote in for the conferences because I know that a lot of people get a lot out of those conferences. I've never gone to the conferences. I don't have the time, but I'm not a professional Photoshop user or I would have loved to have gone to some Aperture classes because I started using Aperture 3, but I just don't have time. So I guess community, but the question then it begs the question, well, do you need all of this for that? I mean, do you need to do a big trade show for community?
I don't know if you do. I think that, I thought about it a lot last week, and I think that if I was doing MacWorld,
which you could be, who knows?
Yeah, is that I would, for me, I'd have it be a 3-day event. The first day event is just press. So you have a bunch of press meetings, and you have them going through no booth can be more than 10 by 10. So every booth is the same. It doesn't matter whether you're a FileMaker or Microsoft or an independent developer. You can make ones that are smaller than 10 by 10, but the maximum size is 10 by 10. So you have a much smaller footprint. And it makes it easier for people to get around. It makes it more equal for independent developers. And then what I would do is have 2 days. The second 2 days I'd have be very TED-like.
What about
lots of 20-minute presentations. Split up by hour-and-a-half breaks where people can sit there and chat with each other and go through the booths, and so it's 2 days of that. But what I would do is I'd have like 2-hour sections where we're going to talk about Macs being used in science, Macs being used in art, Macs being used in education, Macs being used in.
So you're saying those become more like rather than being like if you look at the schedule for these things.
Yeah, rather than
it's like a stack of Oreos.
It'd be one big experience. It'd be one big experience, and there'd be an you could get an expo and you just go look at the little 10x10 booths, or this conference, and I'd charge a reasonable amount of money for it, and it would all be in one big. It'd be like the Palace of Fine Arts. It'd be 1,000 seats. That's it. And we're all going to experience how Macs are used all the way across the spectrum from how they're developed. And you get an hour and a half.
That's interesting.
But it becomes a unified experience among 1,000 people. That they get big chunks of time to do it. It'd be different. It'd be a much smaller experience. But I think that community would be developed.
Mm-hmm.
I would enjoy that as a separate event. I don't think it would fulfill the same sort of role that MacWorld Expo does, because 1,000 people, that's a hella small group of people. It's a very small sample, and also it's probably once you start limiting the attendance like that, the group tends to self-select towards those people who are most motivated or best scheduled or can most immediately make the purchase decision.
I still leave it open to the expo that people could come in and look at. There'd still be an expo, and it would be smaller booths, but there'd still be an expo, and that would be open to as many people that want to come in as possible. But I don't think there's that many more than 1,000 people doing the expo now.
Look how much
doing the conference now.
I do like the idea of having like a day one, at least in a limited stage, a press and industry only version of it. They do that when Comic-Con in San Diego started getting way out of hand. They started adding another day that was only for people who are exhibitors and only for people who are registered media. So everybody who needs to conduct business there, in theory, gets one day of the show all to themselves before like the 400-pound guy dressed as Batwoman, starts clogging up the aisles and with his 4 long boxes full of comics.
Well, I want to make can I make one quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to move on. Go ahead. One more point.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have this idea in my head of this paradox that goes way beyond Macworld. And I think it's germane to a lot of stuff that each of us cares about a lot. And it's just this, that there's a trade-off. First of all, we just take it as read that things change. Everything evolves. And you can't just keep things the way you are. And you can't just say, well, I like this Excel spreadsheet, so I'm going to run the rest of my life based on what fits in here. I think that there's a trade-off that everybody has to accept or should accept, which is that ideally you can be big and flexible. But really, you kind of have to pick one. Like, you can be really big or you can be really flexible. And once you commit to being really, really big, you have to make, like, for example, I'll tell you why it wasn't in West. I will guess it's because they booked that thing. They probably booked years ahead and had no flexibility, I'm going to guess. It's just that you have more, if you want to be flexible but don't care how big you are, you have so many more interesting choices. Because the barrier for failure is less, harrowing. Do you know what I mean, Leo? It's like the problem becomes you go like, oh, when we keep talking about what is Macworld? Well, Macworld is this giant thing that
we don't know.
2 cities. Yeah. But it's like, I think the key is to say, you know what? I'm willing to give up being quote unquote big in the interest of finding out what's going to work for the actual people who care about this, rather than just kind of keeping my Excel spreadsheet the way it is.
Right.
I think that's true for music. I think it's true for anybody. If you take out the factor of big, flexible gets so much easier to do.
Yeah, but more expensive. TED costs $6,000 to attend. I mean, you have to pay for the.
It just depends on. But TED is also top notch everything. I mean, it's different.
But you have to pay for the hall. How much do you charge?
The hall isn't that expensive.
It's not that expensive. Okay.
If I had 6 booths, I could get the Palace of Fine Arts for 3 days.
Okay.
You're describing the pod thing you guys did, which was awesome. That podcast thing you guys did. That was fantastic. Yeah. That was so well done.
And we
had
so many people enjoyed that. And that was at the Zeum, and that was only 150 people.
Start conference that Veen and his people did a couple years ago, that's my model. It's like, well, there's one stage, and then there's coffee outside.
I actually agree with you. And the LobbyCon becomes very important, the conference outside.
Yeah.
It's almost an unconference.
The biggest complaint we had about Gear Media Tech when we did it was not that we didn't give people enough information. It was that we didn't give them enough breaks so they could talk to each other.
Yeah.
That was the number one. Like, it was, which I found fascinating. All I was worried about is people get their money's worth.
I think, TED, it's the same thing, that the conversations after is what you go for.
It's the most, because then it doesn't, watching the TED online doesn't really matter to TED, because they know that the value is that you're there talking to people about what it was. And it wasn't that, that wasn't the fact that, the founders of Google were sitting next to me or Bono was in front of me. It was the other people that I was talking to that were, working.
You were at TED?
Ted.
Oh, the
Ted
Africa, yeah.
But Larry Page is like next to me, and Bono's in front, but those weren't the people that I was talking to on the breaks. The people I were talking to were doing research in Uganda and Rwanda. It was the head of IT in Rwanda.
Right.
Those are the people that I was really fascinated to talk to.
Right. All right. Well, I think this is a great conversation. I'm sure Paul Kent's listening with great interest.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing they must be discussing like crazy for next year. I don't know what they're planning.
And I just hope they let us know, because I'll put it out there that I'm happy to support MacWorld, and we're there. If they're there, we're there. We're going to be building. If they're not there, we will be there.
What we're not. So what you're saying, if I may paraphrase, is we'll support the Mac community. But what's happened is the Mac community has changed quite a bit, because and I think this is what Apple is saying, is that Apple is now in a consumer electronics business, and much more important to it is its phone, its iPod, and its iPad, which is something that you don't get devotees coming to a conference to talk about. Their business is really now a consumer business. They don't need the enthusiasts that they used to rely on. But we talk to the enthusiasts. We care about them. We are them.
Well, I think this was something that we were talking about, that I was ranting about over the weekend, which was the I hadn't been to the App Store for a little while,
right?
And I realized that Apple has completely redesigned it. Have you guys noticed the redesign?
Stop. Okay. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that a lot of the I know you're really excited about this. He wants to rant, and we're also going to talk. But we got to move on. We're also going to talk a little bit about the fact that the phone companies want to do their own app store.
Yeah.
There's some news about Apple's market share that is very good news, and a lot more still to come. We are talking about Macintoshes on MacBreak Weekly with Andy Ihnatko, Merlin Mann, and Alex Lindsay. Before we go on, though, I do want to mention our friends at GoToMeeting from Citrix. GoToMeeting is the great meeting software, Mac and Windows. In fact, one of the beauties of GoToMeeting, unlike a lot of the online meeting software you can choose, is that it interoperates beautifully. So you can hold a meeting on your Mac for Windows users. You can hold a meeting on your Windows machine. Well, I don't know why you'd want to, but you could for Mac users. No, I'm just kidding. It is a beautiful product from folks who really know what they're doing, the folks at Citrix. And I'm going to give you a chance to try it absolutely free for a month, so you can have as many meetings as you want, as long as you want. No watching the clock, no counting the meetings, and you can start today. Go to gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. In fact, if you've got a meeting coming up, just try it. This would be a good, one of those teleconferences that I'm online with Andy and Alex and Merlin, and Alex is playing Tetris. Merlin's checking his email because he wants inbox 0. Andy's looking at the birds. It's just, there's nobody paying attention. With GoToMeeting, you give them something to focus on. You give them a look at your desktop in real time. You can collaborate on documents together. You can let them control your desktop, so it's great for training. And they can switch it, so they're showing you their presentation. It's just fantastic. Save time.
Can I give you a data point? Can I give you a data point on that?
Give me a data point, dude.
I'm going to give you a data point on that. This is an unpaid. Well, it's kind of paid. I guess I could pay for this. So disclose whatever.
It's slightly paid.
Here's my data point on that. I started doing the Inbox Zero talk in 2006. This is kind of my job now. People come. I do these talks. I go on. Can I just say that in the last year in particular, I felt this incredible shift where I go to a company and email has become this thing almost like petty crime where people are like, well, it sucks, but I'm never going to make it go away. Meetings are the thing that everybody is losing it about. I haven't used GoToMeeting, but I'm just going to say that it's interesting to me that there's people out there are scrambling for a solution, because I know a lot of people, including my lady, when she was working at UC, 7 hours a day in meetings. That you don't even have time to do anything of what was in the meeting.
This makes them efficient. Yep, and don't even start about the travel. Don't even start about the travel. And so in fact, I'll give you a data point. According to American Express, they have this in the copy here. The average cost of a business trip is $1,000 for one trip. So this is $49 a month. Yeah, it can cost more.
We're definitely moving more and more to these kind of online meetings. It's just it really makes
Well, this is the one to try. Yeah. Go to gotomeeting.com/MacBreak, and that's all I'm going to say. Gotomeeting.com/MacBreak. We thank them for their support. Some data points, some news stories. Some big news stories, actually. Verizon has announced that it is going to allow unlimited Skype over 3G on some of its phones. A little to AT&T.
I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. That's amazing, and that's something that you.
That's throwing some lumber around. They're saying we got space to burn. Go nuts.
It is, that is you like semiotics. That's the semiotics of it. Is AT&T doesn't have the bandwidth we do.
Well, on the flip side, there's the other big announcement for the past few days of bandwidth hogging is that Slingbox Sling Player is going to be available for over 3G.
That's true.
That's streaming audio and video. They'll kick any Skype audio chat bandwidth bill to the floor.
And that's AT&T. In fact, my sources at Sling say that it was AT&T that relented on that. That said, okay, you can do 3G. The funny thing is, you'd been able to do 3G on the Sling app on a BlackBerry on AT&T. It's for some reason they just were worried about the iPhone. But yeah, that should be in the store. I think that staged last night, so that should be in the store, or the night before. That should be in the store now if you want to upgrade your Sling player.
Also, on a BlackBerry, talking via voice is still considered a very cool thing over the internet.
It's true. It's true. Another story, and we'll tie this to your rant, Alex. AT&T and others are announcing they want to do an app store themselves. I don't understand that. Who has that story? Who knows about that?
I think Merlin knows more about it.
What's going on, Merlin?
Well, in my weekly, okay, let me type a little. I'm just pulling up my notes on this that I prepared for an hour before. As usual, I got a second week in a row. This is from Michael Sippy. I saw this, and it's based on. I think Gruber talked about it too. Are we talking about the same thing here? It's an interest in the carriers and going out.
This was announced, I think, in Barcelona. So this was on Marketplace yesterday.
Mobile World Congress.
Major new app store, according to this CNN interview.
So the idea is to have an app store that that everyone can use. So all the other characters, all the other smartphones, everything, trying to build this kind of Uber app store rather than each one. I think each one of them have realized that by themselves they're going to have a hard time competing with the Apple App Store. So what they're doing is they're trying to get all together so they can all make it work. I think that the big challenge there, of course, is going to be it's still not going to be the same applications for the same. So you still have to sort through
it's
which
like
applications.
NBC selling PAL VHSs or something. Like, that's interesting. You might make some dough, but I'm not really sure that goes to your core competency, let alone solves the problem.
Couldn't you, Joe, though? I mean, if I go there on my iPhone, it would just show me iPhone apps. I'm sure it's smart enough to.
Well, it's not going to show you any iPhone apps because you can't buy the iPhone apps there. So it's only going to show you, your Android apps. I mean, everyone's trying to, everyone, including, companies like Adobe. I mean, Adobe has been talking a lot about Flash on the Android this week because, during this big conference in Spain. They're really trying to, show that Flash is available on every smartphone except for, the iPhone, because I think that Adobe is getting more worried about the ramifications of a flashless
HTML5.
Yeah. Well, in fact,
HTML5.
Adobe's working hard to block HTML5.
That's the rumor.
John's been talking about that.
Not necessarily. AT&T, after that got traction, made a very, very unequivocal comment saying we're not blocking it. We have no opposition to it. We'd like it to keep on going. Could we make it any more clear than that? No. Okay, then let's move on. And no one has come up with something saying, well, yes, you are blocking it. So that they're either lying their butts off, sticking out their necks very, very far, or someone is sort of misinterpreting why the HTML5 standard hasn't been officially stamped into brass yet.
John Knock in his Adobe blog says, in a word. Well, I can't say the word. BS. Adobe is sabotaging HTML5. BS. He says, here's a clarifying comment from Adobe rep Larry Massenter. No part of HTML5 is or ever was blocked in the W3C HTML working group, not HTML5, not Canvas 2D graphics, not microdata, not video, not by me, not by Adobe. Neither, this is pretty unequivocal, neither Adobe nor I oppose, are fighting, are trying to stop, slow down, hinder, oppose, or harm HTML5.
Seem to have touched a nerve there.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, never mind. I'll drop that line of attack. Speaking of attack, Apple's redesigned. You say the
and I don't know when this travesty happened. I just want to say that. So I don't know. I have to admit that I've been very busy over the last few months, and so it could have been. And I have to. We're doing a lot of stuff. We publish stuff. We were, and I worry about Pixelcore.tv. I don't go to the iTunes store that often. Usually, when I find out about an application, or it's from a web page, or it's from PR, or someone's sending me an email.
Right.
So I don't go and try to actually find something. And so over the weekend, I thought maybe I'm just going to go browse a little bit. I'm thinking about what I want to do as picks for the week, and I was inspired by MacWorld, and I go up to iTunes, and I realize that Apple has basically buried any way of getting to verticals. So, like for instance, if you want to try to find tech podcasts in the iTunes store.
You can't do that anymore?
Well, you can. What you can do, and you can't do it without kind of. What you can do is you can search for. You can search for Twit.
I'm okay. I'm going to go to the iTunes store.
Don't do a search.
I'm going to go to podcasts.
Okay, I'm in the directory right now.
Okay.
Let me know if I'm maybe I.
Explore. Let's see, features. So what you're saying is I'm going to search. You mean they don't have the category? They have publishers.
The category used to be. There's publishers down the side.
Here it is. Power search. Let's see. Power search. Podcasts. Yeah, there's category. Well, let's see. You're right. It's it's buried.
Go to the podcast drop-down menu, and there's technology.
Yeah, it's just more buried.
It's just that they buried it. They're burying a lot of the. I mean, what I was surprised at is that it used to be on the surface where you could just very quickly find, but and here's the thing is that it's not that you can't get to it. It's just that it's so buried that it greatly affects independent app developers. It affects independent on mass market.
What is hot?
Yeah,
it gives more.
What's been overtly featured. What's been shared.
Well, this gets back into the complaint you used to have. Well, this gets back to the complaint that you used to have about the arbitrary nature of the ability to control all of this now. That's the, because if I go into the App Store, see, once you click on the App Store, what I can see is the top free apps, the top grossing apps. I can see the top of everything. When you first got to that, there was a power search or whatever, but now, in the main pages, all you're seeing is whatever Apple's promoting. What is new and notable, what's hot, but all I want to get to is, for instance, I just want to get to productivity. Okay,
then go to the top of the window, click on App Store, a drop-down menu goes, and you click on productivity, and one click you're in.
Where is the productivity?
See where it says App Store on the black bar at the very, very top of the iTunes window?
Right.
See, now there's an arrow indicating a drop-down menu. You click
Never
on
mind.
That.
Well, that was the shortest rant in history.
Well, here's the thing: is that so here's the thing.
You've learned a little something.
I'd like to retract.
That's fun to grow on.
So what happened was just so you know, what I did is I clicked on the App Store button, and I get to the App Stores and I don't see it at all. What I didn't see was the little arrow until you pointed it out.
No, I think it's not as obvious as it was. It
used to be right down the side.
Yeah.
You'd have.
I'll back you on that. It was not as easy as it was.
And it concerns me that it gets that it'll get hidden. So there is a little.
By the way, the choices that it's giving me for productivity apps include such great apps as Fascinating Girls, Fascinating Mates, Fascinating Teens.
Well, that's productive in a certain way.
Now, how does this crap?
It makes you produce something.
How does this crap get approved?
Right.
And stuff that I want, like Google Voice, get blocked. I don't understand. Now I'm going to go off on a rant.
Because those are incredibly unambitious programs that do nothing but display content. Whereas
vaguely R-rated content.
Well, vaguely R, and that's okay.
Soft R, PG-13.
No, I want Porky's 2 level pornography if we can get it. But
you want to look for shower hole.
Every time there's a storm and fury about an application being banned, usually it comes out that, well, here's this one piece of technology that Apple doesn't think works properly. This app decided to do an end run around it to get a really good feature going, but that really good feature is powered by something that could break very, very soon.
Well, in just a minute, I'm going to announce my app pick of the week. It's Fascinating Queen, a collection of premium, hot, sexy, and beautiful babes. Coming up a little later on MacBreak Weekly. I mean, I'm glad it's in the store.
I want to pick. I'm going to pick open source Gutenberg text version of Jane Austen, number 760.
Now that's hot.
It's pretty much the same as every one of them, but that's the ones that kills me. These guys churn. I don't know how they get away with this.
There's a lot of.
They just grab everything off like Project Gutenberg, wrap it, and then put it on the store. I can't believe that somebody's not detecting that. It's more like a penetration attack. I can't believe they're not seeing one person uploading thousands and thousands and thousands of apps. There's the one really famous guy, I guess, who was doing this. I don't know the guy's name, but it's huge. You go in and I look at something like that Appsaurus app. I'm not here to pimp that, but it's interesting to me. Like, it is really, really hard, even with keyword searches. People are doing what SEOs call keyword stuffing.
Yep.
Where they will actually go after like somebody else who has a service mark or whatever, or something, put differently, something you really associate with a certain application, and they're turning up looking exactly the same. In terms of usability and how Apple thinks and approaches it, I have to imagine at some point they're going to have to figure out a page rank like mechanism for getting that better. There's got to be. Bubbling up interesting stuff. Because it is garbage. You're right, Leo. It is. There's so much garbage up there.
So I think in a way we can back you, Alex, in saying that Apple's made it a little hard to find stuff, or at least changing the UI.
I feel like it was hard, and now it's gotten much harder. And which is fine if you're a mass market because you end up on top and you work through the promotion process and everything else. But I think it's our, and the reason that I bring it up is that I do think it's our job to bring this up and to talk about it as a concern because I think a lot of people that are listening, this affects them.
I don't know anybody who works there, but I'm gonna make just a curious, I guess, kind of a counter argument, which is if people really want to find tech podcasts, I don't think that's hard. I think that.
Well, that's why tech podcast is a good category because those people will find it.
Right. Well, I agree with you, Alex. I think this is a little bit sort of similar to what Leo was saying, 2 or 3 years ago. For apps or whatever. I mean, for one thing they have done that's cool, I think, is they put the stuff on the web now. Now, a real honest-to-God web page exists for every iPhone app.
Is that up now?
I believe. Well, yeah, go do a search on like whatever 1Password or some app, and you'll get it. Will attempt to auto forward to the iTunes store. At least for me, I guess it might have an ITMS protocol,
right? But
there is an actual page. It's not one of those screwy things where Google lets you like have a fake page that's really something else, which I hate. It is actually a page, I believe. Well,
and I do think it's important for developers to realize whether it's podcast, producers or developers that they do have to have a web presence. You can't just throw it on the App Store. You have to find a way to promote it to your web page because the best way to get people to your application or to your podcast will be from your web page. That's that's going to be your just putting it up on the store. It used to be getting on the store was going to get you sales, and now getting on the store you're now getting into Walmart. You're not getting into some small shop where you're going to instantly do okay.
So I just went and did a search on. I can probably do a better keyword search than I did. Search for like 1Password iPhone App Store.
Yeah, I did that, and then I get the 1Password
webpage.
So look for
will link you directly to.
Look for the iTunes.apple.com subdomain on Google and click on that one.
Oh, okay. Good. 1Password. So site, iTunes.
That's too complicated.
No. All I search for is iPhone application 1Password, and the fourth return is iTunes.apple.com. And when you click on that, I can send you the URL for this.
No, I got it. I'm looking at it. So that doesn't launch ITMS. Oh, I see. It does. There's a page. It will also bring up the iTunes, as you can see there. But there's a page that if you don't have iTunes installed, for instance, gives you exactly the same content as you would get in iTunes. I see what you're saying.
I think it would be smart because, like I said, one thing
it's the iTunes preview they call it.
I don't know. I don't know if this is a nerd thing. I don't mind the iTunes opening at all. It's open all the time for me anyway, but it drives people crazy if I do like a bit.ly link that turns out to be the iTunes store.
Really?
I don't know if that. Right. Yeah, I don't know if that's something good news.
Because if you didn't want a program launch something.
That's true. You don't want to.
You had 1 second of idle curiosity, and it just turned into like even if it's just 5 or 10 seconds of launch.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But I mean that just shouldn't on my brain. To me, that's like opening a control panel or whatever you call it.
It's a convenience.
No, I wasn't. I'm sorry, I wasn't mocking you. I meant literally. Even if it's 5 or 10 seconds, it's too much time. If I did not want something to launch,
right?
Fail. Yeah, totally. I agree. I get that.
So if you go to itunes.apple.com, then I presume it links off to a directory of iTunes apps as well that you could then go through. That's cool.
Apple is such a terrific example of white hat SEO. All these douchebags are out there trying to get you to like fool you into looking at their site. Just go look at Apple's pages. I mean, obviously it helps that they get a giant amount of traffic and linking, but they're so smart about their URL structure and all. I mean, it's really, really well done. And I think there's one of the reasons they score so high is because they've done a really nice job with making a sensible, human readable URL structure.
That's true. Other news. It's Mardi Gras. Happy Mardi Gras. Fat Tuesday. We've all got to give up something for Lent. According to senior bishops in Great Britain, might be a good idea to give up technology. Maybe throw out your iPod. Senior bishops are calling for cut in personal carbon use for each of the 40 days of Lent, including eating less meat, flushing the toilet less often, cutting vegetables thinner so they cook faster, and giving up television, cell phones, and iPods. It's a carbon fast.
I think I need to pick one.
I was thinking of giving up Twitter for Lent.
Do it. It feels so good.
Yeah, I'm not even Catholic. I just thought this is kind of a neat discipline, right?
Leo, it feels so good. Put it in your host file, block it. Just do it for a month. You'll feel so good.
You've done this.
Like 5 times.
I can stop any time.
Exactly. Quitting smoking is easy. I've done it 5 times.
Who is Rene Descartes, and why do I care?
Well, now that there's Buzz, I could probably live without Twitter. I would like to give up.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you really like Buzz?
Love Buzz.
You like it? Really?
Yeah.
And everybody can comment on everything. It's like friend feed, right?
Yeah. That's why I like it. I love friend feed too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, people love you, though. People say nice things to you.
Oh, I get it. You get hostility back.
No, not really. Not really.
No,
It's just-
everybody loves you too. Stop it.
No, I did one post just for fun. I was like, haha, my privacy's going away and I'm eating a burrito. And,
I love that, by the way. That was hysterical. That was a great post. I want to see more from Merlin.
And like where I am and what I'm pissing about on the internet. Yeah,
I've been doing that a lot because it's built into the Nexus One Maps, the Google Maps. So there's the Buzz app, Buzz layer.
Did you talk about this on all the other shows already? You probably talked this to death, the privacy stuff, right?
We did. We do a show called This Week in Google. We spent some time on that, and then on Twitter as well. But they fixed the privacy issues,
Did they fix the thing where like if they don't, it was not clear to people that if you did that while you were in the Maps app, it would be public?
Well, that's.
Did they
I don't know
clear?
about
'Cause
that.
My wife. My wife went to, she's pretty smart. She went to Bard in Santa Cruz. She's like gone to school and stuff. And she was like, I have no idea like why am I following 14 people? I don't remember who this person is. I don't think it's transparent how that stuff is wired together. Anyway, sorry, rat hole.
No, I think you're right. And I think Google.
Well, that tends to be why I don't like. I mean, that's
Google engineers kind of say, "Oh, it's Maps application, of course."
I think there's a certain there are a certain type of people, and we work with a bunch of them that for them the totally integrated Google environment, like the totally integrated Apple environment, for me really works. And for them, everything being tied in, for me, it makes the way Google ties everything together makes me a little insane. So but it's just a different personality.
No, but I agree with you. I think both are true. I want it all together, but I want to choose what I wire together. Dana Boyd had a wonderful essay about on her wonderful site about how everybody thinks teenagers don't care about privacy. What teenagers care about is a high level of granularity in their privacy, and I happen to agree. In this instance, what I said to my lady was, well, it's against Google's core competency, apart from selling ads, which is that think about how many millions of people trust Google with their health information, with their personal information, with their everything information. And Gmail in particular is not an application that I use personally based on thinking whether anybody will want to track information as a result. And even if you're only triangulating by showing who people email to, that is huge. It's like, if triangulating the 3 Starbucks nearest to my house, for example, would give you a pretty good idea where I live. If I cared intensely about you not knowing, that would make me sad. But even more importantly, if you showed the 3 Starbucks I go to the most, if I had told somebody inaccurately that I'd stopped drinking coffee, you're going to prove me a liar. And I never ask you to show that. That's, I think you can have that functionality. You just tell people I want these things to talk. They do it with Google Health. You have to log in every time to see Google Health. You have to log in every time to see Google History. They've added extra layers of protection to all of their most precious stuff. And I think location, especially for women, is like giant.
You're right. And I'm sure that they'll respond. They were very quick to respond within a couple of days to the privacy issues on Buzz. And they made it opt-in. They made a much more visible button to let you know.
That's classic Google, though. Their greatest strength is that they understand how technology talks to technology. Their greatest failing is that they haven't the slightest clue how humans interact with technology. That's the last thing they would ever think of.
And I think
what are the ramifications of this feature we've just wired in? They just ship it.
Yeah. No, they
Facebook
admit that.
too. It's like Zuckerberg literally cannot understand why this would bug anybody, that they care so little about their own privacy as he does. It's astounding to me.
Well, and the truth is, I think people who complain about privacy are still using Facebook. Then they really ought to start thinking a little harder.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, just because my name's in the phone book doesn't mean I want people coming to my house.
Right. Well, that's a good point.
Well, I feel like once you get on the internet, you're giving up. I mean,
How clear is that? I'm doing
I don't put stuff on the internet that I want to be private.
I'm doing a seminar up here at the kids' school called Wired Families, Safe Kids, talking about this with my wife, who's a psychotherapist, and my daughter, who's very wired, about this exact issue to kind of expose to parents and kids the risks.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't tell, I think it'd be a mistake to tell kids, don't get on the internet. I mean, that's like saying, please don't learn to drive a car, you learn to drive a buggy because...
It kills your credibility, too. It makes you look completely out of touch.
That's the question: is how do you manage it? And I think it's not an easy thing to do. But at least the most important thing I think is to at least raise awareness that when you are on the internet, you are exposing stuff.
Right.
And maybe Madeline should come because it's the kind of thinking you have to generate in people saying, well, I'm using a Maps app and I'm about to post on them. It does say very clearly on the Maps app, your location with a dot.
No, she hadn't even used it. She's just like, everybody's talking about it. I flip it on, and suddenly people she doesn't know can tell who she's emailed. I guess I'll say the obvious thing that everybody else has said. What if you're cheating on your mate? What if you're looking for another job?
Just by turning on the Maps app, that does that?
No, just by flipping on the people they're guessing you should follow is based on who you
Oh,
emailed.
yeah. So what they did is, now when you say hello and they say, do you want to use Buzz? And you click yes, they show you a list of who they're proposing you follow with check marks next to all of them and an OK box. But you can, they're effectively, I think, now I don't know, maybe they should try this with some other non-sophisticated users, but it looks to me like they're saying, here's who we're going to have you follow. They probably should have a big thing by following these people.
She defaulted to following 14 people.
That was the first iteration. They changed that. Yes, they changed that on Saturday. Okay. So I agree with you. That was a real problem. And the world went crazy.
Well, and I have to admit,
I don't know why we're talking about this because it's really not an Apple thing.
The only thing I'd say is that I was going to say with this is the one thing I learned with Apple. I tend to buy stuff like I would have paid for the iPad 6 months ago and just waited for it. With Google, I tend to be happy with I'm going to let everybody else kind of stick their toe into that water and watch them lose a couple toes, and then I'll step in a week later, or 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later after they figure it out. Because I think we're much more of gamma testers for Google than we are for Apple.
That's true. Gamma, at least. Maybe
beta,
zeta,
maybe alpha.
All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to get your picks of the week. There's a lot more to talk about. I'll do a couple more stories because there's a huge story about Apple's market share. January, fantastic week for Apple market share. Mac sales grow 36% in January, on pace for 2.8 million Macintoshes in the first quarter of 2010. Piper Jaffray, an analyst, this is from AppleInsider.com. Gene Munster provided the latest NPD group data for January, the first month of the March quarter, 36% growth over 2009. This is, by the way, more Macs than even Wall Street's expecting them to sell.
Was that 30 in 1 month? 30% in 1 month?
Yeah.
Or in a quarter?
In the month of January.
30%?
36% year over year. So January 2010
I see.
was 36% bigger than January 2009.
That's craziness.
That's insane.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
And I think any minute now, right? New Mac laptops based on the on the new chips, the new Arendelle chips. Yes,
we think
any minute now. When?
Could be very soon. They've started leaving breadcrumbs behind in the places that accidentally happen to get load of devices that things like websites and also benchmark collators that keep an eye on a device idea they've never seen before. And so a new MacBook that has as yet been identified in the field showed up in one of these reports and had one of the peppy new Intel i processors that you've heard so much about. So rumor has it that's fueled rumors that we're very, very close to release of new MacBooks. We're definitely overdue, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I want to buy a 13 right now, but I guess some say I should.
I'm moving to a 13.
Yeah, I think
I should have it in the next. I have it.
You already bought it?
Oh, I've had it. We had one in the company we were using for a producer's laptop, so I just
because these new chips, these i357 chips, these Arendelles are good. I think.
Yeah.
Fast.
Leo, if you really loved your audience, you'd go out and buy it.
I know.
Yeah, because we just get it over with. So
I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling the pressure. I thought it was enough to buy 3 13s last year, but apparently I need to buy more. I bought my wife, my mother, and my sister a 13-inch last year.
I'll throw in my 2 first-generation Kindles, and we can make a little house.
I can't wait to replace my Kindle with the iPad. All right, we're gonna take a break. Come back with more. We've got your picks of the week coming up in just a second, but right now it's time to pick an Audible book for everyone. Audible.com/MacBreak is the place to go to take a look at the most amazing, most wonderful place in the world. It's like Oompa Loompa land for readers. It's Audible, AUDIBLE.com. It is. It's a little candy store. a little candy store where you're going to turn purple when you eat these great books. audible.com/MacBreak. Audible is, 70,000 books. The newest from Stephen King just came out. That's always a good bet. Stephen King makes books that are perfect for audiobooks. But there's history in there. I learn a lot. When I went to China, I brought 7 or 8 audiobooks that I listened to as we were riding around in the bus. I mean, it's just a great resource. audible.com. Now, if you go to audible.com/MacBreak and sign up for the gold account, there's no charge for the first month. You get that first book free, and you can keep it forever, even if you cancel at any time. What you got one for us, Mr. Andy Ihnatko?
Yes, I do. It's an ironic Audible selection because on the gold plan I get 1 credit per month. Sometimes, depending on how short the previous book was, it takes me a while for the new one to come through. But I've been sitting on 1 credit for a little while now, chiefly because I've had so many in my wish list that I haven't been able to decide which one to get, and because it's such a complex decision. One of them being I tend to like more like entertainment sort of books as opposed to like deep spiritual and deep, profound novels about dead dogs dying and pools or whatever. Because I'm driving along and I want to something that I can listen to a 10-minute chunk at a time. Then maybe another one where I'll be able to listen to it for an entire hour. There are a lot of variables, and then here's where the irony comes in. Then I spotted the book How We Decide by Jonah Lehrer in my wish list. I said, "Yep, let's buy that. Let's take that one next as our next book." I first came to my attention when the author was interviewed by Terry Gross on Fresh Air. Really great interview. It's a book about how the brain is wired up to make decisions. And here are the 2 disconnects that I would be likely to have when I'm pitched a book like this. That, oh, great, it's a how to empower yourself on the Oprah show through self-determinacy by ringing the 3 bells of decision-making. It's like, okay, that's BS pop psychology crap. I really don't want to waste my time on it. And then there's the serious psychology books that I just absolutely hate, which is we ran a controlled monkey study and also applied a test towards 400 grad students that were offered an orange baseball and a plank of wood. And the fact that 33% could be influenced to choose the plank of wood means that I, Dr. Phineas K. Wungawag, understands everything there is to know about the human brain. I don't like that either because it's so much guesswork. This is more like a very readable, very entertaining book about what goes into decision making, how the hardware is set up to do to make decisions. Sometimes it's backed up, sometimes these chapters are backed up by really interesting experiments that were conducted. One experiment was made to try to figure out how many different things can the brain keep track of at once when it comes to trying to juggle a decision. Really interesting study where they had one group that was spent a half an hour to an hour just doing nothing but memorizing two-digit numbers. Another group, they were told they had to spend a long time trying to memorize 7-digit numbers, and then half hour later they were allowed to go out, get a Fresca, come back in, and then just make some simple decisions. The ones whose brains were focused on just 2 things at a time were able to make really simple, very, very good, very, very quick decisions. The ones whose brains were trying to juggle lots and lots of information were totally failures. Then there's also real life situations in which examples of people who had to juggle. People had to make a snap decision with a lot of really important things falling off of it. Like if you're looking at if you're in the military and you're tracking an inbound what a computer is telling you is an inbound missile about to hit your ship, but might be an actual friendly airplane coming in for a landing. The computer's telling you, giving you too much information. You don't know which is which. This airman had to make a snap decision, and he basically went with, this doesn't feel like an airplane. This feels like a missile, and made the order say, I suggest that we blow this thing up. And it was a classic case because the military was using this as a way to sort of figure out how people make these decisions. Right. As it turns out, he guessed correctly, but they figured out that there was something about the period of data that was coming in that he sort of was able to intuit was not the sort of thing that an airplane would be making as a return signature. So it was just I've only read the first 2 chapters. There's another thing where I buy so many of these Audible books thanks to being able to download the first 2 chapters via Kindle, and so this interview and plus the first couple chapters really got me interested in it. I don't think it's a self-help book. I don't think it's a science and medicine book. I think it's a very, very good read that might even help you figure out how to navigate through tough decisions in a much more efficient and much more satisfying way. So I'm looking forward to getting through the whole thing.
I listened to that interview as well on Fresh Air, and I put the list on the book on my list as well, because it just sounded really, really interesting and kind of counterintuitive. That, for instance, he said, the whole Klingon thing about being purely rational would actually make it harder to make decisions. There's I guess a group of people who have lost the emotional, their limbic system's non-functioning, they've lost their ability to think emotionally, so they're hyper-rational, and they would be completely unable to make a decision.
Based on only the
facts. They needed that emotional leap. It's kind of what you were saying. Maybe it's intuition, I don't know, but they needed that emotional leap to make the decision.
See, I'm using it personally.
I think it meant Vulcan, not Klingon. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. Klingons are Klingon. I'm so sorry. When I go to Dragon Con, I'm gonna get actually stoned, aren't I? I mean, like,
going to Dragon Con?
Yeah, maybe I better fix this before.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, thank you. Can you just give me like a cheat sheet, something?
Well, no. Well, I'll have a headset. You'll have the earpiece in your ear.
Good.
And I'll say, wow, Dark Ivory.
Wow.
You must be a big fan
Dark
of
Ivory.
Joe Linsner.
You must be a big fan of Joe Linsner.
Joe Linsner, fantastic pinup artist.
I need a heads up display.
And then there's going to be a video. There's going to be a video of, did you see the bulge in Leo's back? There's a bulge under his jacket.
That's my Cylon light system. I'm preparing it right now.
That pause, I think he's being fed the answers.
Oh dear. There's a big problem in the chess world, actually. There's all these debates. I can't remember who the masters are. But there's a certain amount of paranoia that goes with being a chess master. It just it makes you crazy.
It's the thought process. You have to think about so many options. Your mind is crazy.
Because there's all these accusations that chess masters are wearing earpieces now at the world championship events and getting moves fed them. And the reason is because computers are better than humans. So frankly, even at the top level. So if you could have a team somewhere analyzing the game on a high-powered computer, feeding the moves into your ear, you could win. And so it's people have gotten very paranoid in the chess world about these earpieces, and they're looking, and they say, he got to the bathroom and went to 3 times an hour. That can't be right. Anyway.
Block the cell signals.
How we decide, right? How we decide. What a great choice. I can't wait to get. Yeah. I think Audible is just such a great resource. audible.com/MacBreak. Get that first book free. I'll be honest with you. You're not going to stop with one book.
It feeds my ADD.
It's fantastic.
Because I have like 20 books on my iPhone, and so I don't really finish any of them. I just kind of listen to I'm in the mood for this kind of book, or I'm in the mood for that kind of book. I don't really go from it's so linear to go from the beginning of one book to the end of it and then another one. I just listen to all of them.
I am listening to so many books at the same time. It's so ADD. And then I get confused because you got to be careful because, for instance, I'm listening to both the Mists of Avalon and the Song of Ice and Fire, which is essentially the same book. So you get very confused because you say, well, wait a minute. Why isn't Merlin? Oh, no, he's not in this book. And I don't mean you, Merlin. I mean the other Merlin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
By the way, in Mists of Avalon, he's called the Merlin, which I think helps me distinguish between a Merlin.
That Randall guy calls himself that, I think.
Yeah, he's another Merlin.
Yeah, he wants to be like Merlin Prime.
So confusing.
Also sniffs your Wi-Fi, I hear.
He does sniff your Wi-Fi. You guys should come on this next MacMania 11, the one in a year from now.
This is in Argentina?
To Patagonia.
I've always wanted to have a, I told my wife I wanted to have a house in Zimbabwe and in Patagonia. And she's like, why do you want to have a house in Patagonia? I was like, Dread Pirate Roberts. I was like, he's been now retired for 10 years and has a house in Patagonia.
Dread Robert.
Alex is slimming down. He's wearing all black.
He could be the next.
I want to be the next Dread Pirate Roberts.
I wouldn't mind that. I thought you wanted to move to the Seychelles.
I was thinking of becoming a Sicilian.
No, my wife, I think, wants to move to the Seychelles.
I want to move to the Seychelles.
The only reason I want to move to the Seychelles is because it's a shorter flight to Nairobi. My wife wants to.
I want to go there because there's no natural disasters. There's a perfect beach. There's lots of dusky native women. That sounds like a place for me.
It's a pretty nice place. 2% unemployment.
2% unemployment, which means even I could find a job there.
I have a related Audible note. I can't believe my eyes. The Kid Stays in the Picture, the world's greatest audiobook of all time, has been really hard to find for a really long time. iTunes stopped carrying it for some reason. My old copy still works, thank God. But it looks like for anybody who's been listening or watching on Tumblr,
Bob Evans biography.
Yes. without a doubt, is there any better audiobook in the entire world?
Andy has recommended this, I believe.
I don't
I
think I'm
can't
familiar
recommend.
with
I've been
this.
talking about it. Well, there's a Robert Evans reference in our last podcast, so I was showing people kind of where that comes from. Did I show him? Did I show him the Robert Evans?
Oh, we did
reference?
talk about that.
We
Yeah.
did?
That's your ass.
We talked about this book.
Oh, yeah. Andy's recommended every good Hollywood book. This one is...
Every mistake there is, sure I did. But I make them again in a heartbeat. Have I learned anything? Not likely.
That's it, pretty much. That's the book right there. You've heard this.
Did the press love me? No, they didn't.
This is the abridged version. It's brief, but pithy.
The British version should just be called "You Bet Your Ass." I did.
You bet your ass I did. Did I do it? You bet your ass I did.
Charlie Bluthorn. I'll post this. And then what's the code? Is it MacBreak? You put in MacBreak and you can get it for easy.
Audible.com/MacBreak.
Yeah.
We'll make it a double pick today.
I bought them both.
So good.
It is a great book. And then, you have to go back in time and listen to all of Andy's recommendations about Hollywood because the Biskin books have been great.
Yeah.
I've just been loving them.
That's how I build my collection. I just wait for Andy to tell us what I'm going to buy next.
So good. Speaking of, anyway, Audible. This ad is devolved. Audible. God, did they get their money's worth?
Value for money. Value for money.
But really, the
Operators
ad.
on the ad lines are standing by.
The ad is only like 30 seconds on the beginning and the end of this rat hole that is about books.
Right.
Audible.com/MacBreak. Give it a try. Okay, see, that's it. That's all there is. Now,
we should just say this book section is brought to you by Audible.
Yeah, we should do that.
Because
that's really what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Our audiobook recommendations today are brought to you by, let me check. Oh, audible.com. Andy Ihnatko, my friend, do you have a pick of the week?
Yes, I do, and I'm a little bit self-conscious about it because we spent so much time talking up MacWorld Expo, and the thing that we would be complaining about is, well, we had 2 weeks, 3 weeks of MacWorld Expo at Apple. It's nothing but booths about iPod cases. Now, when I'm recommending an iPod case or an iPhone case, it's not that that's the only great thing that was there. It's just that the only great thing that's on my mind, and it also allows me to be a big frigging nerd talking about it.
That's fine with me, dude.
Okay, with that warranty in place, it's a case made by a company called Trexta, Trexta, and it is a very simple plastic clip-on iPhone case, just the back. Only the back is covered in a nice drawable, sketchable paper.
Oh, what a good idea!
Ooh, that's awesome.
Now, see, they missed a big trick here because in the booth they have, of course, hey, your kid can draw things on it, you can just take notes on it, but your kid, how adorable would it be that you just give this to your kid and she'll draw like, hey, love you, Daddy. Oh, isn't that adorable? Thank you. It's the best Father's Day ever. I love you. But, see, exactly. As a nerd, though, it's like you get a pack of 5 for not much money. And so the next time I go to a major Comic-Con, I'm going to give Jim Lee an iPod case. I'm going to give Adam Hughes one of these iPod cases, and $50. Could you please draw me a Wonder Woman iPod case?
Oh, what a good idea.
Because it's really good. It is actually very, very, very. The paper has a lot of tooth to it. They were using crayons and colored pencils on it. I don't think it'll take watercolors. It's actually sort of a brownish sort of. It's a brownish sort of paper, but it's the sort of thing where you just want to have one in your bag because you feel as though it's gonna it's gonna come in useful at some point in the future.
So it's not on their website. So I guess it's something they announced at MacWorld.
Yeah, actually,
it looked really cool. I could imagine having one and
let
then
me
just
understand. Is
sketching
the
on
whole
it
case
until...
paper?
No, it's actually white plastic. I just sent you a link to where you can find it. A good picture at another site. But it's actually just a simple plastic. It's sort of a glued down, like sort of, if you can imagine a paper mache back on top of that plastic. That's what you're going to be seeing. It's almost like a grocery paper.
I'm going to geeksugar.com, which is where you recommended.
Sorry, I thought I placed you a URL that would take you directly to it.
Yeah, but you're on a different computer, so I can't just click the URL. It's not that easy.
Well, how about if you just do TRXTA MacWorld and do a Google image search? Will that work?
Oh, I'm sure I'll find something. So, okay, this sounds really cool, and I hope they start selling it. Oh, look, there it is. There it is. There it is. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that is so cool.
Again,
but now can you peel that off and have another layer, or you just have to get another case?
I believe it's one use only, but that's why they sell them, I believe, in a pack of 5.
Right.
Oh, that's why. And also, to be fair, I mean, if you're going to be handling the back of this case for like days and days,
you
and
have
days,
to retire it.
You either have to like clear coat it after you get something really pretty drawn on it, or resign to the fact you're going to use it again. But
that's what they should do. They should sell some fixative that you could spray on it.
Yeah, well, that's easy to find at any art store.
Right.
But I'm absolutely certain that if more people find out about this, the next big convention I'm going to is the Boston Comic-Con in April, and I'll have a few of these in my pocket, and I'd be very surprised if they'll probably be the last con I go to where someone says, "Oh God," and doesn't say, "Oh God, another one of these."
Very good, very cool. From TREXTA, and I guess they're not selling it yet, but soon. They're not selling it on their website yet, anyway. And Mr. Alex Lindsay, a pick.
So I'm taking a Leo pick and extending it to the iPhone.
Oh, if you do Plants vs. Zombies, I'm going to be mad at you.
Okay, I'll pick something else.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
If I got ahead of you, I knew I could get it, and if I got behind you, I'd find something else.
No, go ahead. It's okay. I'll find something else.
I'd like to tell everyone how I lost an hour last night.
Whoever gets it first wins.
So Leo suggested a while ago Plants vs. Zombies on the Mac, and which I liked. It was good. It was addictive, but it was on the computer, and I don't really play games when I'm on the computer. I play games when I'm like waiting for something, or I'm in between things and everything else. And so I was like, well, when Plants vs. Zombies is available on the iPhone, I'll be set. Well, it is, and it's really good. and I was like, I wonder. I'm just going to see if this is as good as the desktop version of Plants vs. Zombies. And I did that last night at about 12:30, and suddenly I looked up, and it was 1:45, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have just played this for an hour and 15 minutes," and I finally figured out what it is. It's that it gets harder at such a slow level that it just keeps on sneaking up. Like you're surviving.
Designed.
You're like, oh, I keep on winning. But it is getting harder, and you're getting better. There's something about this that is a great example of how to teach someone something, because you're figuring it all out, but you're not losing.
Right.
To figure it out. You're winning all the time.
It reinforces it.
But it just keeps on reinforcing your ability, and you're very rarely losing. And I think that's what makes it so addictive. Is that it keeps on building up so slowly that you have an hour and 15 minutes of feeling successful, and it's really addictive. Here, I'll give you one.
I'm playing it right now. This was a Flash game from PopCap Games that we fell in love with when it came out, and now it's a $2.99 iPhone app, and just a real-time sync.
Just be careful of when you turn it on, because it's very addictive.
The only thing that I regret, look, Janet's already installing the thing. Yeah. The only thing that I regret about this is it ends, at least the desktop game ended too soon. It was like, yes, you got better and better, and eventually you beat it, and then it was over, and that was kind of sad. But they do have a quick play version that's, I guess, randomized on here, so that's good. You have to finish the adventure before you get the randomized version. Well, great music.
And the animations are fun. It's simple.
It's really
these are the
game.
kind of games I have to admit. I don't like the complex games. I just like simple
casual
little
gaming. And can you imagine what the iPad's going to be for stuff like this? It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a time sink.
Yeah. I really try to, other than last night when I was testing it because I was looking at it for today, I really try to
don't feel bad, because I have a game that is even more addictive and depressing than that. But before we go there, let's go to Mr. Merlin Mann. Merlin, what's your pick of the week?
I'm trying to decide if I understand this application enough to put it to demo it, because it's so freaking cool. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm going to. Well, is there any point in me trying to demo an iPhone app on the thing here? Probably not.
I can download it and demo it if you tell us what it is.
It's just so cool. I saw this on Gruber's site. Have you guys done Liquid Scale for the iPhone?
No, what's that?
Liquid Scale is an app. I'll try and do a little crappy demo for you right here. Do you remember a few years ago, 3 years ago, when there was that demo everybody was talking about, where somebody had an algorithm where you could take a picture, and then let's say you had something at the far, let's see, that's your what? That's your left.
Oh yeah, right.
Your right, and something at the far, and anyway, and you could take out the space in the middle, and it didn't over distort it. Have you seen this, Andy? Yeah.
Exactly. It was, Adobe Photoshop, the latest Photoshop does that. It's intelligent.
So you could take. Oh, this is great. So you could take your girlfriend out of the picture.
Yep.
There you go. And then it's just your wife and child. That's fantastic.
I don't want to step on Merlin's recommendation.
No, go ahead, jump in.
That's a cool bonus feature that it has, as opposed to the cool regular feature.
So you go in, and you got some goofy looking guy here, right?
Yeah.
And then you say what's important to keep and what's not. and it's got this little kind of. This is going to make no sense to the folks on audio. I apologize. So I can go in and say, for example,
just narrate
here's
as
the
you
part.
talk.
So right here, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm coloring a big bunch of this and saying, that's a part I just kind of pushed all over my face and made it all green. So that when I do change this, oh gosh, now I've really screwed it up. Oh God, what a mess. But then when I change it anyway, it'll crop it in such a way that it retains the part that it's useless to show on the radio. My pick of the week is WikiPanion Plus for the iPhone.
You know, WikiPanion Plus, it's even better.
Okay.
No, show us some more. Come on.
Safari is a hell of a browser.
No, I'm looking at I'm looking at the page on the iTunes store, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so your options are then anyhow, you can go in and let me see if I can.
So it does more than just the scaling, right? It does other stuff.
Well, it does. Andy, you take it here. I think you can take stuff out. You
Basically,
can keep it in.
the gist of it is that you've often taken those pictures where they're like significant. Oh, here you go. Here's the live demonstration, where if you have a picture of these two lovely nationally advertised beverages right here.
Yes.
Okay, on a background, and then take the picture, and you're on the bus on the way home, and you realize that, oh geez, that's stupid. There's all that dead air in the middle of it. Normally, you could, if you try to squish these two together to make it look like that, what would happen is that you have to do a cut and paste, do a careful thing, or you could just squish the margins together and make this all tall and skinny. What this application does is it recognizes that those trees in the background are just background, that these two things are significant. So if you tell it to please squish it, it'll just intelligently sort of collapse the center of it. It'll disappear sort of into like hyperspace and seamlessly transition into a photo like that. Now, the other thing this application can do...
What happens to your head when that happens? Does your head...
Assuming that I'm not in the...
Oh, okay.
See, we're in fantasy land.
Yeah, no, they do the same thing here on the webpage.
But that's an example of a really cool extra feature that this one does, where let's say that this is the picture, and I realize that my stupid face between these two is probably not the best way to advertise Mexican Coca-Cola. I can simply, with this application, I can simply draw over my face, indicating to the application that that thing in the middle, I don't regard that as significant either. And it's like, okay, great. I would have, if I were going to be guessing, the application says, if I were going to be guessing on my own, I would have said that, gee, I would have thought that the head is actually important too. But okay, if you say so, and then you can sort of collapse it like a mad fold-in, and then it will just look like that.
Oh, that's neat.
Well done.
Yep.
Yeah, it's clever. There's this whole class of applications out there now. Sorry, I was getting ready to do another.
What happened to you? Okay.
Oh boy, I'm crap. Oh, geez.
Merlin suddenly off camera there.
Do little lightweight things. There's another one I'm really obsessed with called Reel Director, REEL, and you can edit movies. Very lightweight iMovie-like editor. You can add clips, you can trim them, you can add music, you can add images, and you basically have like a little timeline to edit a movie right on your phone. I think it's just amazing how these apps are kind of coming out of nowhere.
Well,
that was a good explanation. Yeah.
Especially when every time I see these apps, I just think about what's going to happen in a month.
With the iPad. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Can I share just quickly WikiPanion, though, and why I love it so much?
Oh, yeah. Because you can make that your pick, because Alex stole mine.
Okay. Well, you know, what's neat is I'm forever looking at stuff on Wikipedia. I mean, it's kind of a running joke. This app is called WikiPanion. I'm so confused. And you go in, here's what I love about WikiPanion. You go in, and a little page comes up. You got a keyboard, and I type into the search, Leo, and it auto-pops. It incrementally searches. And look, there's this little green plus sign right here. And if I click that, I still look at the entries for you folks on audio. It's basically showing you a set of returns based on...
How come there's so much crap about me in your wiki there?
Well, what's neat then is if I go ahead and click Leo, it takes me to a very customized...
Oh, it's Wikipedia, but it's made just...
Wikipedia.
It's made just right. Yeah.
Just quick. Well, here's the sexy part. I go through and I'm clicking on links. You'll notice when I click on the links, I don't know if you can see, not much is actually happening.
Right.
That is because I've said cache every link that I look at.
Neat.
And now when I go on Muni, I can go read about Premier Radio.
Oh, that's
Network.
the way it should be. So you basically collect your information and then read it at your leisure.
And it's there forever. And boy, it really makes me wish my my feature I want now is, you know, you can watch pages on Wikipedia. I wish there was a persistent history that you could cache on Wikipedia. I would love to basically have in the sandbox, have a history of every page I've ever looked at on my desktop or on my iPhone, just because it becomes this resource. You don't need to go print out the whole Wikipedia. Sometimes you just need to go remember, like, who played Arnold on happy days,
Right.
Pat
El
Morita.
Marno.
Pat Morita. Wax on, wax off.
So anyway, that's my pick. It was very poorly organized, and I also like Cannonball just because I like the music. Back to you.
I'm going to show a site that was recommended to me by a friend who was at MacWorld Expo, and I looked at every booth, but nothing really knocked me out. However, this is pretty cool. Oops, that's that's my hairy hand. Sorry, I didn't mean to show you that. Let me change.
I thought that was some kind of Roger Corman movie. Wait, what the heck?
That's good. What is going on there? No, this is it. It was actually, Andy, you stimulated my thinking about this, reminded me about it. My friend's a designer, and she loved the idea that she could design her own iPhone case. So it's Uncommon, or getuncommon.com. They have, of course, a lot of artwork. It's, a traditional iPhone case place, but you can also send artwork and be part of the community. You can create your own. They will make it for you and send it to you. Custom cases, basically, for $40. So if you did get a great drawing from Stan Lee at Dragon Con or Neil Gaiman or somewhere, you could just send that in and create your own case for your... And notice they sell iPad
Of course,
cases.
Marvel would take credit for it. And not
Yeah, right.
Stan.
You wouldn't actually get any money for it. But isn't this interesting? So it's iPhone, iPod Touch, but they have iPad cases as well. And I have a feeling the iPad will want a little bit of structural support on its rear end. So $39.95 for a customizable case. So it's kind of an adjunct to what you were talking about, Andy. I mean, and a good tip. So I was planning on doing Plants vs. Zombies, but this will suffice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to do it.
Oh, no. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's awesome. I actually have avoided playing it because it's like I knew I'm going to wait till the weekend.
It was very late last night. I'm still very tired.
Yeah.
I was that way with Cannonball. I suck at Cannonball, but then I get started. And I hate these people who pick it up once and they're awesome at it. But like everybody I know who's got it on there, they've got to take it off because you start playing with it and pretty soon.
Another
just
addictive
hours.
game. Wow.
Cannonball.
I don't know that
You
game.
guys play that, right? The platformer.
La 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 la. I'm not. I don't hear you. I don't hear you. La 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 la.
Which one? Captain Cannonball? Cannonball
it looks
juggling?
It's
the
a
one that looks
platformer
like
where you run and music plays and you jump and that's it. And
yeah,
insanely
it's just
good.
black and white, left or right, side scroller. Yeah.
Not is it this one?
No, and it's based on a Flash game.
I think it's called Cannonvault. It's not.
Oh, Cannonball.
Hang on. Let me.
No, Cannonball.
Oddly enough, I have it here. It is called Cannabalt.
Oh, Cannabalt. Yeah, I've seen that. All right, I'm buying it just for the sound.
Yeah, I already died. You ran 102 meters before just barely stumbling out of the first
That is
hallway.
you recommended that, didn't you, Andy? Some time ago.
No, I read it online, and it was another one of it's one of those perfect. I didn't think the line here at the post office would be so damn long. Thank God I have my iPhone with me.
Somebody recommended that on the show at one point. I can't remember who, so I would give him credit if I could. But yes, that was a pick, I think, at one time. Maybe Merlin. Maybe you recommended it.
I just
before.
want that soundtrack. I mean, I think I would be
it's awesome.
like as it is. I don't get a lot accomplished, but if I had that playing all the time,
I've got to write a column.
I think I
I'm
have
forever
it.
crashing. When I crash through Windows, there's no music, and I hate that.
No, it's so frustrating. I'm pretty sure I actually installed it and then, just like you said, took it off because it was too much of a...
I did that with La Petite Dummy. I had to take it off. Where you can put a mouth on anything and make it talk. I had to just delete it. So I would go to Wikipedia, find the most disturbing picture I could, and then make it talk like Lendeck.
Clutch cargo style?
Oh, it's my friend Robert makes it, and it's La Petite Dummy is the most absorbing, ridiculously pointless iPhone application of all
See,
time.
we've just given you like 18 extra picks. Aren't we
See,
nice?
Leo, this is why you should announce it today that
Pick
we will
show.
do
Pick show.
apps only.
I just keep waiting for there to be nothing to talk about.
Well,
We've been talking about doing a video version. A MacBreak recommends. We just haven't.
There's an app. Revision 3 has an app
just for Macs
show, but it's not for Apple. It's in general. It's a phone app store. But you're right. We only really care about the iPhone. Yeah. You know, we should do it once the iPad comes out. We probably should do an apps show, shouldn't we? They call theirs App Judgment. And Tom. Oh, that is disturbing. That is just. I don't know what's going on.
What is that?
Merlin, you're demented.
It's so fun.
What is that
and
app?
If you go get the Wikipedia picture for a JJ and you make it talk like
Le
Glenn
Petit
Beck.
Dummy.
Le Petit Dummy. Oh man.
Yeah, my friend Robert Hodgin, who does he sold Apple the visualizer for iTunes, that amazing visualizer last
really?
few. Amazing Java programmer, good human,
this
and
guy's
just
good.
put that together just for fun. And another guy,
It's just that simple.
rat hole.
Petit dummy. Le Petit Dummy. Oh, is that creepy?
It's so creepy.
Oh, is that
And
creepy?
you can change the teeth. You can make the teeth yuckier.
Wow.
So disturbing.
Just a little fun in the sun. Merlin Mann is at 43folders.com. That's where you'll find him and his arch writing. You will also find his stuff at kungfugrip.com. Grippe, spelled as in the disease.
Talk to your friends you talked to your buddies at Squarespace last week. I begged an account. They gave me an account, and I have already moved over. I'm in the process of moving. MerlinMann.com has moved over to Squarespace now.
You're kidding.
And it took me like an evening to move 4 of my properties.
It's so awesome.
It's pretty nifty, isn't it?
Like that Phone Guy, Fives, and the Merlin Show are all going to live under Merlin Mann, and it took like an evening.
It's beautiful. You
yeah,
have such a good design sense.
No, dude, you know what that is? That's a stock design and some typekit faces.
You're kidding.
That's it. But have you used it? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's
okay, so
amazing.
disclosure, they gave this to me because I begged them to give it to me. And that's actually Tumblr.
So this is still Tumblr, but you're going to move that over.
Well, no, but like go to like media. That works, doesn't it? And like you can pick different designs for different areas. It's just that you can like.
It's beautiful.
It's just there's a lot of power to it, and I'm super impressed. And they gave me a really nice account that does lots of expensive, cool stuff. But I'm very grateful. Erica there set me up with that. So when you promote it on the show, I can just say it is actually pretty awesome. And
you're using non-standard web fonts.
This is my friends at Typekit. Jeff Veen and Brian Mason and Greg Veen, Ryan Carver. They have found a way to license fonts from some of the most amazing font designers. And then you go out and basically you pick the ones you want, you license them, and you get amazing looking faces with 2 lines of JavaScript.
And this is a beautiful font, the Scholar. I was wondering how you got that. I mean, it looks gorgeous, but it's a font. It's not text. It's a font.
Right,
so it scales and everything. It's gorgeous.
That's part of a fairly recent HTML spec where you can, just as you can link to, you can incorporate a photo that's actually a URL to a remote photo. There's a newish spec that says in your style header sheet, you can say, oh, by the way, your browser's going to need this this font. Here's the URL to it.
Yeah, I see that happen a lot. It'll ask if I want to download Myriad or something.
And it's no more Cipher, no more of this stuff, no more of this. I mean, it was great for what it was, but no more of this, like, you don't need your headlines to be in frickin' Flash anymore. These are friends of mine. I work with them, disclosure, blah, blah, because that's what we do now. Go and sign up because it's really amazing.
That's really neat. Well, if you go to merlinmann.com, in the lower right-hand corner, you get the fights.
And it's kind of a nice little viral piece because it shows you, I basically, my friend who does this site called Bobulate, amazing, bobulate.com, I just stole her face, so sorry.
How expensive is the Typekit thing? I mean,
no, they offered me a freebie, but I still bought it. I think I want to say $50 a year.
$50 for everything you need. They have a personal grade for your blog, $25 a year. This is a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go get a trial. Like there's a 5 gig, but
free, yeah.
And really, it's the only limitation, and I'm pimping now, but the only limitation really is the size of what you're willing to handle. You can say, just give me the basic versions of this, or if you want the blown out ligatures and everything, it might double the size, but it's all there. And it's pretty fast and snappy. It works great on Tumblr.
God.
Tumblr themes are now starting to have integrated. Where all you have to do is drop in your code. It's a really nice service and very well put together.
I want this. Oh my God! Look at these great fonts, and these are all. So is it? It's compatible. Any modern browser will handle it, and any other browser will degrade sensibly. And
they have sliced the Gordian knot. No, dude, you go in and define the stack. You say, go find Fancy McFancy.
No, I just mean your visitors. Your visitors as well.
Yeah, but then you still define your own stack. Like you go in and say, and if it fails back, go to Georgia, Serif.
Same way you used to do. Okay,
yeah. You pick it all yourself, and then you actually also. It's a really nice interface. You go in and pick all of your own selectors. So you say H1 through H6 should be in this. And I want, what I want. I want pound sidebar, OLLI to be this.
Even the stuff they give you in the trial library is pretty darn good. Wow. This is neato. Neato. Okay, boy, we got. Okay, so when will we do a pick show? Next week, there's not going to be any Mac news, right? Maybe we'll have some new laptops, right? That's the most that could happen next week.
Pick show.
Okay. You can always punt.
We've almost done a pick show now.
No,
okay.
I vote.
You vote yes?
I vote yes.
Yes.
I vote yes, too.
I hardly
vote yes.
endorse this product or service.
Okay.
All ounce.
Okay. Make it
I
so.
wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
So
I'm going to bring
so it
stuff.
shall be.
I'm going to bring.
So it shall be written. Next week, an all-pick show, all apps, all
Is it all
picks,
apps? Can we bring hardware too?
anything you want, right? Well, what do you say, Merlin? It was your idea. Should it be?
I think if Alec wants to bring hardware, maybe he could be our go-to hardware guy. I would suggest this. I would say we focus primarily on software for OS 10 and the iPhone. And my suggestion would be that you tell the tell your fans out there to put things on MBW ideas that they think are a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I, in particular, am looking for options for TiVo-like functionality. I would love suggestions for that. Slingbox type stuff. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bust out all of my software that you wish I would shut up about. So I'll be ready.
So 5,
ready with like 10 each, maybe
10
5,
each, 10 each.
7 hours. That's gonna
And
be
I'll
seven.
focus on we should focus on different things. So like Merlin's focusing. I'm gonna.
All right, let's do this offline. We'll
All right,
figure
we'll
it
figure
out.
it out.
But next week, ladies and gentlemen, MacBreak Weekly will be a very special episode of picks, software, and some hardware. And we will.
Specs and more picks.
2010.
It'll be summer of fun. It is. It's our welcome spring. There's an app for that show.
Yes.
Wow, that's exciting. Thank you, Alex Lindsay, for being here. Alex Lindsay is at pixelcore.com. That's where the multimedia artists gather to learn their craft and then make money doing their craft. Pixelcore.tv is where the podcasts are, and that's where all 57 episodes of MacBreak will live.
38.
38.
Well, we shot
When
a
are those
total of
coming
57.
out? When are you putting more of those out, Alex? Where's my stuff? What the hell?
I think that if we put them out all at once, Cashfly sends us email saying we're running the servers into the ground.
I'll host
so,
them. I got a Libsyn account. Throw it my way.
yeah. We took Libsyn out one time.
I remember that. That was when you started doing 1080p.
Yeah.
You knucklehead.
We were just having good clean fun.
Knuckle butt. Alex Lindsay, pixelcore.tv, Mr. Merlin Mann, our good buddy, and so glad he's back on the show with us. We just are thrilled to have you. He's going to be back next week with his summer software picks. He's at 43folders.com or merlinman.com.
Thank you. Very nice to be here, Leo. It's a thrill.
Wonderful to have you here. And, of course, Andy Ihnatko still in town in the beautiful Tilden Park area of Berkeley. We don't know where he is. He's
Undisclosed location.
He's at an undisclosed. He's at the Zoological Gardens.
Testing flying donkeys over here. A lot of people would be very, very, very shocked if they found out what we're doing to these poor animals, but it's all in the name of science.
The island of Dr. Ihnatko.
James Cameron needs it for the next movie. He writes the check. I'm not here to argue.
Chicago Sun-Times is his lair, but also his website, www.cwob.com. Thank you all for being here. Remember, you can watch the show. We do it live every Tuesday, sometime between 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m., usually around 11 a.m., 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and we go for a couple of hours. You can watch it live.twit.tv. You can also download the podcast and soon the video from iTunes and Zune and everywhere else. And watch it. Now we can watch it on Ustream. You can watch it on Justin.tv. I think we save it on Justin.tv. You can watch it on BitGravity. You can even watch it on your iPhone. This was huge. Now in the browser, if you use Safari, you don't need any application at all. Use Safari, surf to live.twit.tv on your iPhone. We'll just start up automatically.
Wow.
You can watch it live.
What's it using? What's it using to stream that?
H.264. Web streaming, baby. That's the future for all the platforms. It's only on the iPhone right now. Roku, of course. We don't have streaming on Roku yet, but with live.twit.tv works on iPhone Safari, which is a huge breakthrough. And that's thanks to Ustream, which is, I think, like a lot of other companies saying, maybe this Flash thing is not the only way to do streaming video. So they're now doing streaming H.264, and it looks really good. Scales beautifully. I'm very happy about it. Friends, I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Another Mac Break is broke.